What if Suzuki decided to take one of the most respected dual-sport motorcycles ever built, give it a modern makeover, and release it into a world that suddenly appreciates simplicity again? And here's the surprising part. While most manufacturers are chasing bigger engines, more electronics, and increasingly complex adventure bikes, Suzuki might actually have the perfect formula sitting in its own history books. Welcome back to Acer Rider, and today we're diving into a motorcycle that has quietly earned legendary status over the decades. The possibility of a 2026 Suzuki DR650S. Now, before we talk about what a modern version could look like, let's take a moment to appreciate what makes the DR650S such a special motorcycle in the first place. Because unlike many legendary bikes, the DR650 didn't become famous through racing victories or marketing campaigns. It earned its reputation the hard way, through thousands of miles of real-world riding. Riders rode these bikes across continents, through deserts, over mountain passes, down gravel roads, and across daily commutes. And somehow, through all of that abuse, the DR650 kept going. That's why so many people still love it today. It's not flashy, it's not complicated, it's not trying to impress anyone. It simply works. And honestly, I think that's exactly why a modern DR650S makes so much sense in 2026. Because if you look around today's motorcycle market, something interesting is happening. Bikes are becoming more advanced every year. We have ride-by-wire throttles, cornering ABS, radar cruise control, multiple riding modes, smartphone integration, and electronic suspension systems. And while those technologies are impressive, many riders are starting to ask a simple question: do I really need all of that? Personally, I think that's one of the reasons the DR650 continues to have such a loyal following. It reminds us that motorcycles don't need to be complicated to be enjoyable. Now imagine Suzuki taking that philosophy and updating it for modern riders. The first thing you'd notice about the 2026 Suzuki DR650S would likely be its appearance. Suzuki would almost certainly retain the rugged, no-nonsense personality that defines the DR lineup. The tall stance would remain, the upright riding position would stay, the practical dual-sport proportions would continue. But everything would be cleaner, sharper, and more refined. I can imagine a redesigned fuel tank with more aggressive lines, while still maintaining the classic DR silhouette. The side panels would become slimmer, improving ergonomics while giving the bike a more modern appearance. LED lighting would almost certainly be included. A brighter LED headlight would improve visibility while reducing electrical load. Modern LED turn signals and taillights would help bring the bike into the current era without compromising its character. And honestly, I hope Suzuki avoids overdoing it. One thing I personally love about the DR650 is its honesty. When you look at it, you instantly understand what it was designed to do. It's not pretending to be a Dakar rally bike. It's not pretending to be a luxury tourer. It's a dual-sport motorcycle. And it's proud of it. A modern version should preserve that identity. Now let's talk about the heart of the machine, the engine. This is where things get really interesting. The current DR650 uses a 644cc air oil-cooled single-cylinder engine. And it's one of the reasons the bike has remained so beloved for so long. That engine isn't particularly powerful by modern standards. It isn't especially sophisticated either. But what it offers is something many modern motorcycles struggle to provide: character. The power delivery is smooth, predictable, and incredibly usable. You don't need to rev it to the moon to get moving. The torque is available right where you need it, making the bike easy to ride on trails, back roads, and highways alike. If Suzuki were developing a 2026 version, they would likely need to modernize the engine to meet emissions requirements. Personally, I think the smartest move would be to retain the single-cylinder layout while introducing liquid cooling and modern fuel injection. This would improve efficiency, reduce emissions, and provide more consistent performance in varying conditions. A modernized 650cc single could realistically produce somewhere around 45 to 50 horsepower while maintaining the low-end torque that DR riders love. And honestly, I think that's plenty. Not every motorcycle needs 100. Horsepower. One thing I've learned from riding is that usable power is often more enjoyable than excessive power. A motorcycle that you can fully enjoy at normal speeds is usually more fun than one that's constantly begging you to break the speed limit. That's exactly why the DR650 formula has endured for so. Now let's talk about performance. This is where the DR650 has always excelled. Not because it's the best at any single thing, but because it's good at almost everything. A modern DR650S would likely continue that tradition. On the highway, it would be comfortable enough for long-distance travel. On dirt roads, it would feel stable and confidence-inspiring. On trails, it would remain surprisingly capable for a bike of its size. And around town, it would be practical and easy to manage. That's a rare combination. Most motorcycles excel in one area and compromise heavily in others. The DR650 has always been different. It's the motorcycle equivalent of a multi-tool. Not the most specialized tool in the box, but often the most useful. Suspension would likely receive significant upgrades. Modern, long-travel forks would improve off-road capability while providing better comfort on rough roads. An updated rear shock with adjustable damping could make the bike more adaptable to different riders and conditions. And this is one area where I think Suzuki could really improve the formula. The original DR650's suspension has always been functional, but modern suspension technology could make the bike dramatically more capable without changing its personality. Braking would also see substantial improvements. Dual purpose. Riders expect strong braking performance today, and a modern DR650S would likely feature larger disc brakes and advanced ABS. Personally, I'd love to see switchable ABS. That way riders could enjoy the safety benefits on pavement while retaining full control during off-road adventures. Now let's discuss technology, and this is where things get interesting, because the DR650 community has always appreciated simplicity. So the challenge for Suzuki would be adding useful technology without compromising the bike's identity. A small digital display makes sense. Fuel injection makes sense. ABS makes sense. USB charging ports? Sure, but beyond that, I think restraint is important. Not every motorcycle needs 5 riding modes and a menu system that requires a user manual to understand. Part of the DR's appeal is that you get on it and ride, that's it. No complicated setup, no endless adjustments, just riding, and honestly, I think a lot of riders would appreciate that in 2026. Now, let's talk about who this motorcycle would be for. The answer is surprisingly broad. New riders could appreciate its approachable nature and manageable power. Experienced riders would enjoy its versatility and simplicity. Adventure riders would love its durability and reliability. Commuters would appreciate its practicality. Travelers would value its comfort and low maintenance requirements. And riders like me, we'd appreciate the fact that it doesn't try to be something it's not, because there is something refreshing about a motorcycle that knows exactly what it is. The DR650 has never chased trends. It's simply focused on being useful, and that's probably why people still talk about it decades after its introduction. Now here's the twist I mentioned at the beginning. What if the biggest advantage of a 2026 Suzuki DR650S isn't what Suzuki adds to it? What if it's what they choose not to add? Think about it. In an industry increasingly focused on complexity, perhaps the most revolutionary thing Suzuki could do is preserve simplicity. Not outdated simplicity, modernized simplicity. The kind of motorcycle that still feels mechanical, connected and honest. The kind of motorcycle that encourages adventure instead of distracting from it, because I genuinely believe there's a growing number of riders looking for exactly that. Not more screens, not more settings, not more electronics, just more riding. And that's what the DR650 has always presented. That's why I think a modern DR650S could be more relevant today than ever before. It wouldn't need to be the fastest, it wouldn't need to be the most advanced, it would simply need to remain true to what made it legendary in the first place. So now I want to hear from you. If Suzuki unveiled a completely redesigned DR650S tomorrow, What would you want them to change? And more importantly, what would you want them to leave alone? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this is one motorcycle that means something different to every rider. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Acer Rider, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next motorcycle deep dive. And before we wrap up, a quick disclaimer. The 2026 Suzuki DR650S discussed in this video is not an officially announced Suzuki motorcycle. This concept is based on the DR650's historical legacy, current industry trends, enthusiast expectations, and personal opinions, combined with AI-assisted creative interpretation for entertainment and discussion purposes. But if there's one motorcycle that deserves a modern comeback without losing its soul, the DR650S might just be at the top of the list.